What is your view on leadership? What steps or measures do you feel should be put in place to change things in the informal settlements? Well, today on She Leads, our guest is a member of National Assembly aspirant from Embakasi North, and she's going to take us through this conversation. Join in. Wow, hi Dorcas.
Hello.
Karibu sana to our program. I'm so happy to have you today.
I'm also happy to be here today. Thank you for the invite.
Great. Kindly introduce yourself to the audience. Just tell us a little bit about who Dorcas is.
Okay, so Dorcas is a 27-year-old lady, born and bred in Dandora, currently aspiring to be a member of National Assembly come 2022. This has always, I've always wanted to serve my community, and I think the chance has provided itself. So that is what I'm up to now.
Great. How was your background growing up? Were you raised in Dandora, or how was your background, your childhood?
Okay, so yes, I've been born and bred in Dandora, as I earlier stated. And growing up in Dandora, for me, most of the people tend to have a notion that this place is not a good place, that whenever you hear of Dandora, people will think of crime, people will think of the dump site, which is commonly associated with Dandora. But for me, that has been one of the blessings. I count it as a blessing because it has made me who I am today. It has taught me how to handle life as it comes, in that you don't get things to just come by themselves.
Yeah.
If you want something, you have to go for it, right? So for me, growing up in Dandora has been a blessing, though it has its own challenges, but for me, it's more of a blessing. And if given another chance and God just says, where will you want to be born again, I'll choose Dandora. Dandora first for
Yes.
Yeah, that's where I'm
And when we were having a conversation earlier, you told me that yes, thieves have broken into your house, but you have never encountered thieves yourself. What would you say about the insecurity situation in this informal settlement? Is it just a narrative that has been curated, or what really happens in informal settlements?
Okay, it's not a narrative that has been created because yes, crime is there. Crime in Dandora is very rampant, especially for the past few years. It's also been on online platforms whereby you get very young men, right? And also nowadays ladies and also young ladies are tending to go towards that direction also. So I wouldn't say it's a narrative, right? But on the aspect of it being changed, it's possible because as I had earlier told you, I have never encountered like being attacked by someone for the 27 years I've been alive. As in, okay, from the childhood, from 0 to 5 years before I knew myself, I wouldn't say of that age. But when I started to recognize myself, I have not encountered that scenario whereby someone is attacking me. At times I'd go home as late as 11 p.m., but I have never come into contact with anyone who would want to harm me or anything. But that does not erase the fact that crime is there.
Yes.
There is a rampant rate of crime.
Okay.
Yes.
So you have been raised in Dandora, and you still live in Dandora right
Yes.
now. And as you told me that you're pursuing a PhD in IT at JKUAT University,
Yes.
what inspired you to go into IT? And perhaps maybe your research area, what inspired it?
Okay. For me to pursue a PhD as of this young age, I'll give a short story. We were going to attend our cousin's wedding. It was in class 4, and my dad kept on telling us, the lady we are going to her wedding, she's 28 years old.
Wow.
She's my cousin, and being a 28-year-old, she's a PhD holder. So I used to, okay, the joking bit and trying to make fun with my dad. I don't know if I was serious at then, but I used to tell him that. Also, before I get married, I must have a PhD. So he kept on reminding me all the time, Dorcas, you said this, Dorcas, you said this.
Yes.
So all the time as I grew up, I would always recall that when, as in the promise I made to my dad, right? So when I joined campus at Masinde Muliro, I wanted to do medicine, by the way. That was what I really wanted to do. But my English and Kiswahili grades wouldn't allow me to, because I got a grade that will not allow me to go directly as
Yep.
a job. job student, right? So I saw there's no need of me trying to stress my parents, take me for places free, yet my grade will allow me to go and do a good course with the job. You know, job is a bit cheaper as compared to the places free. Then at that time, my sister was in a private university. My brother was also pursuing his masters. So to some extent, so there is no need of stressing my parents. So I asked my bro, like, now help me choose a course because whatever I wanted is not going, it has not gone.
It's not materializing.
Yeah, it's not actualizing. So I sat down with my bro and he told me he's a network guys.
Yes.
He does IT. So he told me computer science will best suit you. So that is how I ended up in computer science, right? So immediately after I was through with my computer science, that was on May 2016, I decided to start my master's immediately. So when I was graduating my undergraduate, I was already finishing up with the coursework for the masters. So all these I did it such that I had tried to keep track of the promise I had earlier made.
Yes.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
So you attended a wedding of a lady who was 28 and had a PhD.
Yes.
And from that point, you thought that you're making a joke, but you spoke to your mind, and your mind registered that a PhD is something that you will get. And at 27, you're pursuing it. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And just a little bit into your leadership journey, when did you realize that you are wired for leadership? At what point in your life?
Okay, so I can say that I've been in leadership since I was young. At class 8, I was at Beirut Academy in phase 3. So we were two competitors. She was called Rachel and
Yes.
I. But since I was a new student at that point, so I don't know if that's what made me lose the elections or what, but Rachel became the head girl. Then when I went to Buru Buru Girls, that's where I did my Form 1 to Form 4. I was at Form 2, I was elected. Oh, okay, not elected per se, because it wasn't an election, an election thing. So what happened is I was appointed as a sanitation prefect. Then from there, I remember at Form 3, the principal called me and the 3 deputy. So it was a norm that the deputy head girls one of them will eventually become a head girl. So the principal calls the 4 of us. There were 3 and I. Then I didn't get the connection because this is a sanitation prefect.
Yes.
This is a deputy head girl. So what exactly is happening here? So the principal, Madam Kimuya, asked me, Dorcas, who do you think should be the head girl? And I said Jedida. She was the deputy one because that is what used to happen, right? So she asked me, why not you? I was like, I'm a sanitation prefect, right? These are my deputies. I'll have, it wasn't, according to me, it didn't really make sense as of that time. So during the annunciation of the prefects, all prefects had been mentioned apart from the deputy and the head girl. So everyone in the dining hall started laughing because they were looking at me and like, a sanitation prefect, what exactly are you trying to do? So the moment the principal said that the head girl is Dorcas, the whole crowd just laughed. I also laughed because it was.
You didn't believe it?
It didn't get into my mind that you'd be a head girl.
Yes.
Head girl of Buru Buru Girls. You know, Buru Buru Girls is a school that is widely known here in Nairobi.
Yes.
So from that point forward, my deputy principal, that is Madam Kangeda, used to nurture me. And also Mr. Catello, who I think is also an aspirant in Mercedes. So they used to nurture me. They used to, if there is a conference for leaders, they'd take me to that kind of conference. And through that, I came to realize that I have leadership in me. Then when I went to the university, I went for an election on the Muso SGC, right? Muso is Masinde Muliro University Student Organization, Student Governing Council, and I was vying as the vice president. Also, funnily enough, I got the ticket. Because it was like, at that point, how the campus politics used to happen is, for you to succeed, or for you to go through, you needed to be in a very strong coalition.
Yeah.
At that time, there were 2 coalitions. The Mulembe coalition, which was mostly formulated by the Luyas, and we had the Mwangaza. So the Mwangaza would pick in all the tribes apart from the Mulembe.
Yes.
So here comes a situation whereby for the Mwangaza, Embu, I'm from Embu. So Embu community fell under Mwangaza coalition.
Which campus were you in?
Masinde Muliro.
Okay.
Masinde Muliro University.
Yes.
So Embu community is under Mwangaza. But at that point, I was like, should I really go into a coalition for me to vie? Because according to how the Mwangaza coalition was designed, it was Aluo who was given the vice president
Yes.
post. So during that process, you'd find that I used to get a lot of attacks such that people will say, okay, like in Kiswahili, oh, umetoka wapi? What exactly do we want? Our coalition is full. We cannot take you. So I remember one of the days, I submitted our nomination papers, and at that time it was a very difficult thing on me because number one, you're being rejected from a coalition that you think you fit in. You've not been given an opportunity to explain why you'd want to vie for that seat using this coalition. So I remember that day I called my dad at that point because it was a low moment for me. And I told him that how things are at this point, I don't think I'll make it. And the words he told me, up to today, they keep me moving. He told me, if it's not a must for you to go with a coalition, you go. Go as an independent candidate, go and lose. Don't stop at don't stop at it just because people are discouraging you. You think that you're not in a good coalition. You go and do your best, right? As much as the coalition gives you an upper hand, it is the students who will decide who they vote for. So I submitted my nomination documents, and from that day onwards, I would go for the campaigns on a door-to-door basis. So I'd go to each hostel, right? Knock on each student's door and tell them that I want to vie for a vice president seat, and this is what I intend to do as a leader. So during the election day, I truth be told, I didn't think I had a chance, right? But when the results were out, everyone was astonished because at that point, this is an independent candidate, right? An independent candidate, and the competitor is from a very strong coalition. Actually, the coalition, out of 12 seats, the coalition gathered 10 seats, right? So the two of us who are independent candidates is a guy known as Prince Mwendwa. We used to communicate a lot and try to encourage each other, right? So because he is also a Meru, and the Meru were in the Mwangaza coalition, and the seat he was going for was also awarded to someone else. So we'd stick together, come together and share ideas. Then at that point, when the election results were out, we all had, Prince and I had won the seat. So yes, yes, you're supposed, and that's one thing. Actually, like right now, what I'm always telling myself is there are a lot of limitations, right? There's a lot of strife I may go through, but as long as you feel that you can perform in that seat, you feel that you really want that seat, right? Go for it. Don't just stop at going for it because people are telling you won't make it, you're not in the right party, you're not in the right coalition, right? Let the people get to decide, this is our leader, right? Don't limit yourself, just go for it.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
And now at this point in your life, like I can look at the past experiences that have molded you into the person that you are now, a leader. And now you are aspiring to go in as the
member of National Assembly.
Member of National Assembly for the
Embakasi North. Yes.
What has inspired you to vie for that seat in that particular?
Okay, so the concept of me going for the member of National Assembly seat, actually, there's a time, I'm one kind of a person who gives stories, right? Realistic and real life examples. So there's a time I was going for work, and I met a very young boy, very young, at 6 o'clock, right? He was going to school. The young boy stopped me and told me, "Madam, help me with some 5 shillings or help me with tea so that I can go to school." So that thing really disturbed me because I came and I sat down and asked myself, this kid is going to school without food. That is just one kid I have met. Meaning there's a lot of them will do that. And there is no situation whereby you'd find the Ministry of Education will say, now children who have learned with a lot of difficulties, lacking the
lacking the basic commodities will be given a special advantage simply because of the kind of life they went through. So what happens is everyone, whether you studied in a boarding school, whether you studied in a day school, whether you had challenges going to school, you will be just the same.
Yeah, you're right on the same step.
You're all on the same steps, right? So you'd find that most of these kids will not excel because even when I'm hungry, I don't think I can read,
Yeah.
right? And that is a kid. That is not a grown-up. At least a grown-up, you can always try to control yourself. But this is a kid, right? So what happens next is that they are most likely going to lack opportunities to join schools, right? Then what next for them, right? So I sat down and asked myself, how possible is it as a leader to try and, you may not eliminate all of these cases, but you may try to alleviate some of these children, right, in the society to ensure at least they get a fair stand,
Yeah.
right? If it is in the schools, right, how are we going to ensure that the students are going to go to school without worrying, where will I get lunch from, where will I get breakfast from, right? So that was one of the scenarios that really it actually disturbed me so much. And then the other scenario was I have also lost friends on the crime perspective. So most of these scenarios, as I was telling you earlier, if I'm not supporting crime, right? But if killing was a solution, by now crime will have ended, right? Because a lot of people have been killed, right? So what exactly, my opinion is always that, what exactly are we supposed to do as a society, right? We have tried eliminating the crime doers, but it's not working, right? So what exactly are we supposed to do? And what I think is, why don't we create a platform whereby we give these youths, we give these young men an opportunity to try and realize themselves? Dandora is known for, not only Dandora, also Embakasi North, because I'm not only going for specifically Dandora. So Embakasi North is known for football. We also have a stadium which has stalled, which I will not talk about it, right? So what happens is we have many young men who have gone abroad to play, right? Reason being, they started their football in Dandora. So as a leader, what can I do to try to give these young people a platform to showcase their talents, right? As you're trying to improve on the education sector, why don't we also provide a scenario whereby if you're good at dancing, we give you a platform. If you're good in football, we give you a platform, right? We try to grow. And then there's this thing that is currently happening back at the Embakasi North constituency, which for me, it's a good thing, and it's actually in line with what I think, right? So a group of youths will come and start we call it Mradi, right? If it is a car wash, if it is a park we are recreating, right? We have a waterfall. I don't know if you know a waterfall in Dandora.
Which area?
Yes, actually, you should try to visit around that place, but it's such that there's a lot of dirt going on, right? So actually there's a lot of dirt around that area. So why can't we reclaim that area, right? Put it as a tourist attraction and employ the youths from that area, the women from that area, the men from that area to try to earn a living from that place, right? So my thinking is, why don't we try to create opportunities to keep the youths busy, to keep the women busy, to keep the men busy as the children go to school. So at the end of the day, someone will have an option: leave crime, come and earn a good life, right? Or stay in crime and face the consequences. Because like I was sharing earlier on, there's someone who I just went and I was talking to the young man. I won't mention the name. And this is what he asked me, and I felt challenged, right? You guys, you're coming here to tell us, oh, leave crime, do this, do that, right? But you're not telling us, leave crime and earn a living from here, right? Because right now, as you can see, almost everyone has gone, as in, it's not like there's no much opportunity per se, right? And the little opportunity that is there, we're all struggling to get it, right? And then with the current COVID cases, you'd find that a lot of people have lost jobs, right? People working from home means the Uber drivers don't get job, right? Because they used to depend on the people going to work, right? Businesses have closed, So what does it mean? We are struggling. That is the reality. People are struggling to pay bills, right? And that is how you see, if you try to look at how the crime rates have been going, it has been rampant, right? Ever since the businesses started closing and people started losing their jobs. So why don't we try to create an environment whereby we are pulling them out by giving them a suitable option, right? So from that point, you're not in a more sober place to come and say, we gave you this option, but you didn't take it. So the law will take its course. So that is what I'm trying to think. That is what I'm trying to, as a leader, right? That is my vision for my people. So we may not entirely get rid of the whole thing, but at least if for example, like right now, my thinking is, as a member of parliament, get to sponsor Dandora Football Club. So get to sponsor around 25 young men to the Premier League, right? From those 25 young men, they'll also get some money. They may decide to open a business. Opening a business, what does it mean? One, right? So that chain tends to cascade. So at the end of the day, you may have not reached to a very large population, but the little population you start with, it will all start cascading now to other people, right? So, and as a leader right now, what I'm focusing on is having talks with my people, right? Because I cannot be right all the time and I cannot be imposing things on them. So we always have, like on Saturdays and Sundays, I'd sit down with a section of young men, I'd sit down a section with women, I'd go also and meet with the elderly men, right? And they'd try to explain to me that as a society, this is what we want. This is what we consider to be urgent, as compared to someone just coming with their own projects for their personal gains. Yes.
Wow. You have a very beautiful approach to solving the issues in slum areas, like approaching it from the roots.
Yes.
That will indeed change the situation. Politics, as they say, is and you are a woman getting into it. What challenges do you anticipate to experience as you get into it?
One of the challenges that I anticipate to face is financial stability, whereby, as we know in Kenya, campaigns are not a walk in the park. They're not a walk in the park. So I know I'll require a huge amount of money, but one thing I say is I'm a born-again Christian, and through my faith, we say that silver and gold belongs to God, right? So I'm not going to fear. I'm not going to stop at that just because I feel like I'm not in a position to raise such kind of a money or such kind of amount. So what is happening in this scenario is I trust God, right? That He shall provide how it is to Him to figure out, right? Mine is to just go to the ground, talk to the people, and may He make people, may He make it possible for me to gain favor in the eyes of the electorates, right? And then on the financial bit, He will open ways, right? He has done it before. I'm not going to doubt Him on this time. So on the financial bit, as much as it's a scary part, but I don't want to worry so much about that. And then being a woman in the society, currently we are having a lot of things going around women empowerment. But I'd want to change that perspective. Let us do young women empowerment, right? Because from my opinion, which I'm not attacking anyone, is for the recent years that have been there, we are empowering women who are already empowered, right? What of those women who are not in a position to hold a campaign on themselves, right? But they still have the leadership in them. What of those young women out there who feel I can become a leader, I can become a politician, but we're simply ignoring them? Reason being, there is this perspective of being a married woman in the society for you to be respected, right? So being a 27-year-old, you don't expect me to get married that early, right? For me, it's too early, right? So such kind of things, because I have met people and they are like, you go first of all, get married, get a child, then come ask for a vote, right? You cannot talk in front of the wazes, right? Yes, you're a single, a young lady, a young child. They even don't call you a young lady, it's a young child, right? So some of these things, so that is also something I have also experienced. And also the part of having, so I'd want to get to a point whereby I'd have a full backing of my fellow women, right? We know in our society that there's always this norm that women fight themselves, right? If you want a woman to fall, use the fellow woman,
Yeah.
right? But I believe I'll change that notion,
That's something
right?
we need to change.
Yes. So by working closely with my fellow women, right, whether young or old, we need to respect that person. So apart from the financial stability, I'd say, yeah, for the rest, I'm prepared. I'm prepared because already it's not like, okay, as much as I was in campus politics, that already molded me into what to expect, right? So I already know what to expect, and I am ready and willing to go through it
Great.
during this time.
And you have highlighted a very important aspect. Like God is the center of everything, and
Yes.
you have said, when He is at the helm of everything we do, everything else falls.
Everything falls in place.
And women empowerment, and women need to learn to stand with each other and to stop allow like the opposite gender to make us to fight, like pitting us against each other. That is something that happens most of the time.
Yes.
And that is something we need to fight and to stand together, because we are stronger
Together. That is true.
We are stronger together when we're speaking in one place.
Yes.
Beautiful. And as we are talking about this woman empowerment, we are lucky to live in a time where in East Africa we have been able to have a female president, Samia Suluhu. What does her position mean to you as a young woman getting into politics and as a young woman in Africa?
Okay. So what that means to me is, number one, women can and we will.
Yeah.
Right? By the grace of God, we will get there. So being the first president, right, in Eastern Africa, it's going to really shape a lot of things. How women are perceived to be leaders, right? She's going to speak a lot on women in top leadership, right? Because as you can see in history of Kenya, we've had aspirants, right, going for the seats of presidency, but we have not had an elected woman in leadership, right? So that should also come out strongly, that we can do it.
Yes, we can.
And we should actually one of the things is, as time goes by, I will eventually go for the seat of the presidency.
Yes.
Right? So that is something that for me, it's quite encouraging, and we're not going to stop at it, right? So we're looking up to her, right? We're trying to see, or we're trying to encourage people like, you see, women can also perform, and we know she will perform.
Yes.
Yeah, for the few days she has been in office, we've seen the kind of work she has done, right? Yes. So it's really encouraging, and it's really motivating, right? As a woman who is also going into politics, that at least nowadays our society has embraced women into leadership. It may not be 100%, but we have at least made a move.
A great move.
Yes.
And now, to that girl who's at home, who is maybe looking up to you, other women leaders in society, and wishing and hoping that one day she will be a leader.
Yes.
What is your word of advice to her?
Okay, so what I can advise the young women out there is, number one, never let anyone discourage you from going to get what you want, right? You know yourself. If you believe in yourself that you can be a leader, you can lead your people, go to your electorates, right? Go to your people, go to the community. Tell them what you'd want to do, right? Explain to them what your vision is about your community, right? There is no stopping at that point. Your age cannot define you. Your gender should not define you. What you can do is what should define you. There is a common saying that says, whatever a man can do, women can do better, right? So we need to come out clearly. We need to come out strongly without giving ourselves any kind of limitation, right? Because we will, and we can, and we will. We will eventually make it there. So don't shy off, right? Come out to the public. It may seem like you're putting yourself up for a lot of criticism, but how will you grow without criticism, right? So let us come out strongly. It doesn't need to be in political leadership, even in companies, right? At home, when you're having a youth group, come out and be the leader there. Leadership doesn't have to necessarily start at political positions. Even as young as you are, or in the little position you occupy in your society, just come out clearly. Do not be afraid. There is actually, you have nothing to lose. That is what I tell myself, right? Because you cannot get to somewhere unless you try it. So come out and give it a shot. Yes.
Thank you so much, Dorcas. I can't wait for that time when I'm walking to that ballot, that what's it called?
Polling
And
center.
Yeah, polling center, and I see your name as on the ballot paper as the president of the republic. Yes, you can.
Yes.
Thank
Yes.
you so much.
Okay. Thank you so much, Joe.
As you had, yes, you can. And everything that you are trying to do, just have a focus and you will achieve it. Thank you so much for watching. This has been She Leads, brought to you by me, Abdullah.